Currently, the most popular categories on Pinterest are fashion, home and garden, food and beverage, and beauty. These are just general categories which could easily be used on Pinterest to generate traffic for a limitless number of products and services. In most cases, this is a good fit for business-to-consumer advertising or B2C. But don't write off your business-to-business or B2B just yet. You just have to get strategic and creative. When looking to build your boards, and for original content inspiration, consider the following. Repins. Repinning is the fastest and easiest way to bulk up your boards. Your category boards should be designed to inspire or educate anyone who visits your site. Even though a pin is repinned, you can add your own unique comment. Just make sure the source is always clear. Next, let's talk about the importance of adding the Save Pinterest button or widget to your website. This will increase engagement on Pinterest by neatly organizing content on your site that visitors want to refer back to on their board of choice. Once saved to their board, the save has the potential to be repinned. How will they know that they can repin website graphics to their Pinterest account? When they hover over the image, the Pinterest Save button will populate. Now let's talk about quote cards. Quote cards continue to be one of the most effective pins out there. With the long list of user-friendly quote card generators, you don't even have to have graphics design skills to generate a pin worth sharing. This includes seasonal quotes, questions by industry professionals, and even original quotes and phrases relevant to your target audience. For example, 3 things only a nurse would understand. Next, recipes. Like we mentioned earlier when we were discussing statistics, there's over 1.7 billion recipes on Pinterest. Now, you don't want to post recipes if they're not relevant to your brand, product, or services, but if you're in any way related to food, health, beauty, fitness, or home, recipes can be a part of your mix. Next, there's infographics. Infographics come in many forms and are a visually engaging method of delivering fun facts, educational facts, product facts, or any information relevant to your primary target audience. Again, you can invest in infographic software to design your own. The great thing about infographics is that you can post them to Pinterest, your website, blogs, online content, and your other social media channels. You can even print them out for offline marketing purposes. These don't have to be the typical long-form infographics. They can just be a little square with 4 or 5 facts. Next, there's visually engaging imagery. If you're new to Pinterest, then now is the time to start browsing. What you're searching for is the quality of the photos that are performing well, the ones with lots of repins and comments. What you'll notice is that most of the posts look as though they're professionally photographed. You might not have the budget for professional photography, which is where do-it-yourself editing tools come in. Add a filter and adjust lighting, and you can make most photos look better. Just make sure your editing does not misrepresent the color of your product. Then there's casual product placement. Your photos and graphics need to accurately reflect your brand, but that doesn't mean your product needs to be front and center. In some cases, front and center might be the best way to go, but in most cases, not so much. For example, if you sell luxury interior paint, well, you can only have so many photos of your paint can, paint on the wall, brushes, or of painting in the act. So instead of, or in addition to those, why not post some photos of staged living rooms with your paint on the walls? Or let's say you sell fashion accessories. Your posts will get more action if you show stylish ladies sporting your fashions, as opposed to a ton of close-ups of your jewelry or handbags just laying down on a flat surface. Now let's talk about ratios for your pins. Pins that are too tall get cut off on mobile devices. And since 80% of users use mobile devices to browse Pinterest, you really don't want that. You can upload any size pin, but not all will reformat in the visually appealing manner that we're looking for. When it comes to ratios and designing your pins, keep these tips in mind. Profile photos should be 165 by 165. Your board cover image, 217 by 146. Tiny thumbnails will be 70 by 70. The aspect ratio for pins is 2 by 3 to 1 by 3.5. The maximum pixel width is 736 pixels, but you might want to aim closer to 600. Keep long pins like infographics at 736 by 2016. The ideal pin size is 736 by 1104 to 2016. Now that you have a better understanding of how to get started, you might be searching for a few best practices to make the most out of your new social media platform. Here's just a few. Number 1, follow and repin local business owners. Not competitors, but businesses you do business with, or that you're a personal patron of. Odds are they'll return the favor. Bonus points if you have a shared target audience. Number 2, start off with at least 6 boards that have at least 20 pins each. Set a goal to repin at least 5 per week to each board, and at least 3 original pins. Aim for no less than 10 boards total. Number 3, keep an eye on your competitors to see what they're doing and what works. The goal is not to copy, but gain inspiration. This includes businesses in the same industry, but in other service areas, even in other countries. Number 4, find ways to link back to Pinterest. Install the Pinterest Save widget to your website. Add your Pinterest URL to your monthly newsletter. Include it in your email signature. Or offer promo codes which can only be found by visiting Pinterest. Number 5, while your clients can't pin to your board, you can create offline and online incentives where the winner will be featured on your social media. For example, you could provide a prize, including a celebratory pin on Pinterest, as an incentive to the 50th customer who posts creative use of product on social media. Number 6, make a short list of restaurants, businesses, and brands who excel on Pinterest. Regardless of their industry, they have at least a few methods you can test. If you're not sure where to begin, simply type top pins or top add your industry pins into the Pinterest search bar to see what populates. Number 7, don't utilize Pinterest to spam your followers, but feel free to send direct messages to those who leave comments. Pinterest success will not occur overnight, but with steady activity and engagement, your organic marketing will begin to drive quality leads to your business, website, and sales funnels. Now, as great as all of this info is, it's not going to be of any use to you or your business if you don't apply what you've learned. So, roll up your sleeves and get ready to execute the steps in the following battle plan. Step 1. Spend an hour brainstorming your Pinterest marketing goals. Step 2. Think about what kind of boards and pins are most useful for your business or niche and develop a content plan. Step 3. Take 15 minutes to create and optimize a Pinterest account and at least 6 boards in accordance with what you learned in this guide. Step 4. Start filling your boards with pins, at least 5 each for starters, and begin implementing the best practices we discussed earlier. Establishing marketing goals is critical to the success of your Pinterest marketing. Countless entrepreneurs and businesses have set up a Pinterest presence, made a few posts, and then let it sit untouched for months or even years. This is usually due to a lack or absence of goals. So, before you even begin establishing any sort of Pinterest presence strategy, you need to establish clear marketing goals. Your goals should be specific, measurable, and attainable. They can be long-term, short-term, or a mix of both. Deadlines and milestones can be helpful as well. I want to increase my social following would be an example of a bad goal that will likely result in your marketing efforts petering out after a while, because there's no specific milestones. I want to gain 1,000 likes by Christmas is an example of a good goal. It's specific, measurable, and certainly attainable. Below are some examples of the various goal categories you might be interested in for Pinterest. First up, traffic to website. And here we're talking about sales, leads, or content marketing. Probably one of the most popular goals of Pinterest marketing is to funnel your Pinterest traffic back to your own web properties. After all, most businesses don't do business on Pinterest per se. You're leveraging Pinterest to obtain traffic and convert that Pinterest traffic into brand followers, leads, prospects, and customers. So maybe your goal is to get people to a landing page with a free offer where they can subscribe to your list and become a lead. Maybe they're being sent to a sales page or an e-commerce store. Maybe you just want to do some content marketing and send them to your blog. Whatever the case, the end goal for a lot of businesses will likely be bringing Pinterest traffic away from Pinterest and over to their own web properties. Next up, there's social following, or Pinterest as autoresponder. In this goal category, your aim is to build a large number of followers. The reason we also refer to this as Pinterest as autoresponder is because the main sought-after benefit here is to increase the number of people who will see your pins in their home feeds. In this sense, your Pinterest posts become similar to sending out email broadcasts via your autoresponder. If you grow a large enough community, this can be very beneficial and turn into a huge source of free organic traffic for your business. Next, passive presence. Some businesses might have purely passive goals. Simply being present and discoverable inside of Pinterest is a benefit that has wider appeal and greater utility than you may think. In many cases, a company's Pinterest presence might supersede or even totally replace what was once the role of a blog. Your business's name, logo, a short intro statement, and a link to your website can be found on your Pinterest profile. And depending on your audience, that might be where people are most likely to seek you out rather than your website. Much like a blog, people can see your boards and recent pins. This same approach can also be used for events, communities, and brands. Next up, brand awareness. Another goal that's less thought about might be spreading brand awareness and recognition. If you're just starting out, there's a good chance your brand might be in need of a jump start. If nobody's ever heard of you, a great way to increase recognition is to simply pin and share unique, helpful, or entertaining content and get your name, logo, and overall brand identity in front of as many people as possible, as many times as possible. If this is your goal, you want to avoid being salesy in the beginning. Ensure you're focused almost entirely on posting helpful, relevant, or entertaining content. Next, there's expanding existing audiences. If you've already got an audience, your goal might be to make it bigger. This can be done via several social marketing methods. Pinning or repinning viral content, either curated or created by yourself, can lead to a huge increase in your Pinterest audience. Although creating your own viral content can be great, if you don't have time or the means to do so, you can simply leverage existing content that's already proven itself to be viral by curating or resharing it with your own comments or angle added to it. Also, a few humorous images and memes can't hurt either. Other ways to expand existing audiences can include contests, sweepstakes, and gamification. Assuming your offers and prizes are compelling enough, incentivized sharing can be very effective. Just ensure your methods are permitted by Pinterest's terms of service. After that, there's enhancing or repairing PR. This is a goal that any business can engage in. Non-sales related PR campaigns can include pinning photos or videos that foster positive value and goodwill, or even involvement in noble causes or social movements. On that last one though, be careful not to alienate half your prospects if the movement is too political or ideological. Did your business recently donate to a charity, or build a school in a third world country? Serve food at a local pantry? These are all things to pin about. These don't necessarily need to be about things that your business participated in. They can be content about general things like a heartwarming video about helping the poor or caring for the elderly. Special holidays like Christmas, Thanksgiving, or Mother's Day also present opportunities to leverage emotions, foster goodwill, and enhance your public relations. If necessary, PR repair can be done as well. If your business recently had a mishap or did something that caused negative PR, a campaign of PR enhancement like described above can work wonders in improving your public image. Last but not least, there's market research. This is a hugely beneficial goal of Pinterest marketing. If you're just starting your business or going down a new path, Pinterest can be an excellent place to learn more about your audience and your market. This can be done in a structured way by pinning to things like surveys and questionnaires, or in a less structured way by simply engaging with your audience, commenting, asking questions, and so on. Also, lurking or conversing in Pinterest boards related to your industry can teach you a ton about what your customers want and who they are. Beyond that, you can monitor your competitors' profiles and boards to see what their customers like and what they're complaining about, so you can adjust your business accordingly. Creating your own board and engaging within it is another great way to get a constant stream of market and audience data flowing into your business. Ultimately, your goal should be to come up with one or two ideal customer avatars that you can then base your marketing and product development on. All the goals you've learned about in this section require some sort of presence on Pinterest. So let's discuss how to start building that presence. First, let's talk about setting up your Pinterest profile. Pinterest profiles are short and sweet, but don't underestimate the importance of a quality profile. Ideally, your Pinterest account should be your business name, if it's not already taken. If already taken, get as close as possible. Or if your business is one that doesn't seem pin conducive, like a bank or a credit union, create a business Pinterest page for an adjacent topic. Using a bank as an example, you could create a page that focuses on shameless money-saving tips. Add a clean and clear profile image. In most cases, your business logo is appropriate. However, if your logo doesn't fit well, have it redesigned to fit or substitute it with a best-selling product or even your founder or CEO's headshot. Be sure to add your website homepage URL so that anyone who finds their way to your profile page can easily be redirected. Fill out your location, where you're based or your service area. Fill out a short and engaging About Me section, letting visitors know what makes your brand unique. Next, let's talk about creating a Pinterest strategy. As with all methods of online or offline marketing, you must have a strategy in place. Since each social media site is unique, your strategy also must be unique to Pinterest. In other words, you can't just pre-schedule the exact same posts to Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter. That's not to say that there can't be some overlap, but each site is utilized for different purposes, so your content and strategy must reflect your purpose. Your first step will be to set some clear, specific, and measurable goals, as we discussed earlier. To begin with, you need to build your foundation. This means investing in creating an organized and relevant category of boards for both your shared pins and your original pins. Then you need to begin posting regularly to build your followers and number of pins. Once you have a foundation, continue posting at least 3 to 5 times a week with the goal of getting your website traffic from Pinterest at or above the average of 5%. To determine the percentage of those who transfer from Pinterest to your website, landing page, or linked URL, you should set up Google Analytics. You can also use your preferred analytics software or view the analytics provided by Pinterest. Your page must be set up as a business account to view Pinterest analytics. What you're looking for is which pins do the best so that you can create similar yet unique pins. Let's talk about setting up rich pins. Rich pins simply mean that you can provide in-depth context about your pin. There are currently 4 rich pin options: app, product, recipe, and article. For example, a product-rich pin could automate the current price featured on your website and might let the customer know if the product is in stock. You need to apply for rich pins, which is fast, and approval is easy. Pinterest really just needs to verify that you're legitimate and that you have the basic metadata requirements. Next, there's promoted pins. The focus of this marketing guide is to help you design an organic Pinterest marketing plan, but we do want to make sure you're aware of all of your options. If you want to hyper-target your demographic, you can invest in paid promoted pins. Promoted pins increase engagement by 2 to 5% and drive more targeted traffic directly to your website or sales funnel or opt-in page. Your pay-per-click promoted pins offer advanced analytics and tips on what similar competitors are bidding on and which products are currently trending. The primary benefit of Pinterest paid advertising is that the cost per click is much lower than Google PPC. In most cases, you can bid under 50 cents per click and generate impressive conversions. Selecting your keywords is also far more intuitive. Now that we've talked a little bit about getting started on Pinterest, let's move on to Pinterest content ideas and best practices. Alright guys, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to rebrand these Viking PLR packs if you so choose. We're going to start with the PowerPoint slides for the videos. So the videos, we've been very careful to make sure that there's no branding or no mention of Viking in the audio. So you can actually continue to use the audio track if you prefer, and simply remove the visual Viking branding. The easiest way to do that is going to be to come to each image. There's 3 Viking images in each slide presentation, and what you'll do is you'll right-click, you'll come over here to Change Picture, choose From a File, and I'll just grab a random image here. Easy as that. You would do the same thing here and here. And if you did want to change the voiceover, all you'd have to do is you would actually have to delete this sound file here. You'd have to insert a new one, which would be here. Audio on my PC. And you can grab any audio file that you choose. Once you do grab an audio file, you're going to want to set it to play in background. And all of these settings will default to their appropriate settings, with the exception of one. You'll want to uncheck loop until stopped. Okay. Now, since there will be a difference between our audio and your audio in terms of the timing of the various bullet points and everything, you're going to want to rehearse timings if you change the audio. Same thing goes for if you add bullets or any other content to the slideshow. So what you'll want to do is come up here to Slideshow, and you'll click Rehearse Timings, and this is basically what you'll do. You'll just click through as though you're going through an entire PowerPoint presentation. I'm on a 4K monitor, that's why the... Let me go ahead and turn this off. Yeah, sorry, so I was on a 4K monitor, so that's why it looked all zoomed in there. But basically, you would just proceed as though you were doing any other PowerPoint presentation, and clicking at the right times in synchronization with your audio. And once you've done that, at the end there, when it says, do you want to save the timings, you hit yes. And from that point forward, when it renders a video, everything will be in sync. Okay, so we've covered how to change the images, remove all the Viking branding, how to change the audio. The last thing left to do, in order to make these into a video, would be to come over to File, and you're just going to come to Export, Create Video, Make sure this is set to use recorded timings and narrations. Those are the ones that you just set up. It should be set that way by default. And choose your presentation quality. There's no reason not to do full HD these days. And create video, and that'll render, over the course of a few minutes, an MP4 video file of this presentation. And let's see if I missed anything here. Nope, I think that's about it for the PowerPoint slides. Let's move over to the the Viking bonus creation Word documents. So what I'm about to say applies to the reports as well as to the full ebooks. And really, it's actually very similar to PowerPoint, except for one thing I'll mention at the beginning is this background. It's here for stylistic reasons. It looks kind of cool and slick, but I understand a lot of people might not like that. So what you'll want to do, when you first open the document, everything will look kind of gray and hazy here. And that's because that background image is actually in the header. And it is, as far as Microsoft Word is concerned, it's layered in front of the text. So step 1 is going to be to double-click in the header area. Step 2, click one more time, and you're actually going to select this background image. Okay, you'll see these little dots up here in the corners and on the sides. That's how you can resize this. If you want to keep this background and you just want to get rid of it temporarily while you edit and change things so you can see a little more clearly, that's all you do. You just drag it to the side, and then remember to drag it back over before you finally render or export your document. And if you want to just delete it, that's fine. Just hit delete, and you get rid of that. If you want to switch to a white background, we'll just come over to Design up here, Page Color, change the page color to white, and what you'll see is that Microsoft Word, let me close out of the header mode actually. There we go. Microsoft Word, when you change the background to white, automatically changes the white text to black. Okay. Let's see here. Same rules apply here for changing the picture. Change picture from file. You can choose any picture that you'd like. You would want to go into the footer area. I'm going to go ahead and change the page color back to black. It's worth noting here that in the footer area it does not automatically change this text to black if you change the background to white, so you'll want to come in and manually do that. Just up here under Home, and you can obviously change colors up here. And you're going to want to come in here, obviously remove the Viking branding from this, replace this image, and look for any other references. There shouldn't be any other references to Viking branding with the exception of down here inside of the reports where it actually recommends that your customers or your leads grab the ebook inside of each of the reports. But you can always just do Control F and look for the word Viking, see if there's any other Viking branding that we missed. We made sure not to include any in the actual body of the document in the case of the ebooks. And that is about it for the Word documents, guys. I just want to reiterate, when you distribute this to your audience, it needs to be in PDF format. So you're going to come up here to File, and you're going to save as Adobe PDF. Simple as that. Same thing goes for the PowerPoints. You can only distribute the video files once you export it as an MP4. You cannot distribute the actual presentation slides themselves. Again, unless you upgraded and got the master transferable PLR rights, in which case you can sell PLR rights to these. But if you just got the standard package of our Viking PLR bundles, and you're just distributing these to end users under your own PLR rights, make sure that when you distribute, you're only dealing with PDFs and video files, not with any Word documents or PowerPoint slides. That's about it for the tutorial. Guys, if there's any information here that I didn't cover or that you don't understand about rebranding, feel free to send us a support ticket, and if necessary, we'll go ahead and update this tutorial and re-upload it to the members area. All right, thanks, guys. There are so many social media platforms to choose from that most business owners focus their time and attention on one or two. When deciding which sites are best to brand and market your business, you can't forget the visually engaging pins and boards found on Pinterest. There's a few standout ways in which Pinterest varies from other social media sites. While you can follow users and they can follow you, it's not about friends and followers. Instead, It's about generating instant access to engaging visual imagery and informative pins regarding any and every area of interest. These pins can be added to a user's personal boards for future reference. Anyone can access any other user's pins by the category or keywords related to the pin. While each pin can have a bit of text or even a URL, the goal here is not the "here's where I am and what I'm doing" topic of most social media platforms. Instead, a relevant comment regarding the post and what it represents is standard. Most importantly, unlike Facebook and Twitter where your post's peak engagement is rarely more than 5 days or a few hours, pins can continue to show up in search results indefinitely. Now, if you're inclined to stick with the major players like Facebook and Twitter, don't write off Pinterest until you take a closer look at the stats. First off, let's talk about the sheer size of your potential audience. Pinterest boasts an insane 150 million active users. Yeah, you heard that right. 70 million of those are in the US, with 80 million outside the US. As can be expected, Pinterest activity is proportionately astronomical. There are over 75 billion pins, which have been posted to over 1 billion public and private user boards. Over 2 billion shopping pins are posted daily. 87% of users make purchases after seeing products or services on Pinterest, and 93% use it with an eventual purchase, online or offline, as their primary goal. Which makes Pinterest a no-brainer platform for those seeking to sell goods and services to a shopping-minded audience. And 72% of users make offline purchasing decisions based on Pinterest content. So it's not just a goldmine for online businesses. The average Pinterest user session is just over 14 minutes, which is very impressive when you compare that to most other social media platforms. 14 million rich pin articles are posted every day, and a whopping 5% of all web traffic comes from Pinterest. 80% of Pinterest users access the site from a mobile device, so mobile marketing and mobile-friendly content is very important here. And 2 out of 3 pins are posted by businesses or brands, so you've got some competition, which is actually a very good indicator for how profitable Pinterest can be. Oh, and if you happen to be in the culinary niche, guess what? There are over 1.7 billion recipes on Pinterest. As for your audience makeup, 81% of Pinterest users are women, so the Pinterest is for girls stereotype clearly has some truth to it, at least from a market research perspective. But don't worry, if your target audience is males, the percentage of males on the site is increasing rapidly, making up about 40% of new users recently. In case you were wondering, the most popular categories for these new male Pinterest users are technology, food, and drink. Big surprise, right? As for age, millennials are using Pinterest just as much as Instagram. The median age of users is 40 years old, but the most active pinners are under the age of 40. So now that we've established why you should definitely be marketing on Pinterest, let's talk about some Pinterest goals.